everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to a somewhat delayed episode of Comic Class. Yes, if you saw the episode that we put up on Wednesday, you know that I was out of town all week, going down south to visit my family for the holidays, and the holidays could not have come at a worse time. Oh, those selfish holidays. They never care about your schedule. Yes, because for the longest time, I've been ranting and raving about Civil War II, and this Wednesday, the final issue, at least I pray to God it's the final issue and that Bendis didn't come in here and say, to be continued with a crazy Part 9 epilogue. The final part of Civil War II came out, and I could not read it because, as I said, I was out of town. Now, you guys have been asking me all over Twitter and Tumblr and everywhere else what I thought about this issue. I'm recording immediately after I got back home, so I have not read it yet. I just wanted to let you guys know, right before I read it, my expectations are low. You guys have been warning me about this. You guys have said to tap down whatever expectations I already have even lower. I've gotten them down as far as they're gonna go. So I'm gonna go and read this. Join me in about 2 seconds to hear what I have to say. See you then. I'm so scared. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The entire reason why I shot that opening was because I went, okay, I know this is gonna be bad, and I know I'm gonna get incredibly angry at this, so it'll be funny for me to contrast me coming in there talking all sane with me then coming in here and being full of rage. This series managed to screw up even that. This series managed to screw up a bit that I wanted to do. Because, yeah, I just read it, and I felt the one thing I did not expect to feel. Nothing. In a weird way, the final issue of Civil War II, and by the way, if you don't know my feelings on Civil War II, I'll put up at the end of this or in the comments down below links to all the other videos I've done. But throughout all of Civil War II, I can say this about it. I at least felt stuff. It was typically anger and rage. This one I just felt nothing at all. This was the big finale to all of this. And it's Iron Man and Carol Danvers fighting back and forth and throwing punches, and it looks beautiful. I will say this for this issue. It looks great. The artwork in here is fantastic. But I felt nothing. The biggest emotion I got out of all this was, oh, that's a pretty drawing. That's it. This is a knockdown, brutal fight between these two characters, and yet you really did just feel nothing throughout any of this, and it's because Bendis does not know how to write fight scenes. I'm sorry, I hate to just keep coming in here and picking on the guy, but the dialogue that goes back and forth between characters during a fight scene is always just back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. It never really has any weight to it. And I will say, this was probably better than most of the fight scenes that he writes, because Tony had that one line in there about, if I do anything right with my life, it's this. And I was like, okay, I guess that's a good thing for him to say there at the end, which is more than I typically get out of his dialogue in fight scenes, because typically his dialogue in fight scenes is just, oh man, look at that, look out, oh, hey, watch it. That's pretty much all the dialogue, and we got a little bit of that in there. Like, there was one pretty bad quip in there in which Iron Man fires off a series of rockets. It almost kills Captain America, and then he turns to Carol Danvers and goes, nice job not killing Captain America. I was like, that was you! I'm sorry, was there a miscommunication between the artist and the writer? Because I'm pretty sure the writer is the one who wrote Iron Man fires off rockets, next panel Captain America explodes. Seriously! Okay, alright. I gotta concentrate here. Let's go over what we saw in this. it was basically all just one big battle between these characters, and Medusa wanted them to go in there and stop the fight because of what Ulysses saw. Here's one of the big problems. We don't know what Ulysses saw. In the last issue, he goes into the future, into the Old Man Logan future, which we know is an alternate reality. We know it is not the future. We know that it has been confirmed. That is not the future of the Marvel Comics universe that we are currently following. So right there in the previous issue, that let me as the reader know there is zero chance that you can trust this guy's visions because he is seeing alternate futures. And I will say this, at the end of the issue, it was pretty cool seeing all those different artists come in here and draw all these famous alternate reality futures from the history of Marvel Comics. That's something that Bendis also loves to do. He loves in his big events to just get a ton of different artists to come in here and just make big splash pages. And hey man, if you wanted to hire some of the best artists at Marvel to come in here and make just a big art book in which they each drew a panel of alternate realities and you just put it out and go, hey, $4.99, the art of Marvel futures, check it out. I'd buy that. That'd be kind of cool because it wouldn't screw up the present. It would just be an art book. You don't end your giant event with an art book. Okay, gotta keep going in order. But as I said, the thing that let me know right off the bat that this has a problem is that they kept saying, we have to do this because of what Ulysses saw. We don't know what he saw. At the end of the last issue, Old Man Logan goes, yeah, Captain Marvel left because of what Tony Stark did. Tony Stark went too far. But we don't know what happened. Like, the vision got cut off before that, and then when we cut back, Ulysses is still in the middle of having a vision. So it's like, okay, so did he have another vision in which he finds out exactly what did happen? Because if I don't know what the stakes are, I'm not that invested. I could be invested in this fight if you had done a better job building it up, but as I have pointed out in the past several episodes in which I have talked about these Civil War II issues, there was no job done building any of this up. The buildup on this was atrocious. From issue 1, when they find out about, hey, this guy can read the future, and just immediately everyone in the room shuts up except for Carol and Tony, who instantly start going at each other. I just have not been able to look at this as anything other than just the Marvel executives just taking 2 action figures and going, now fight each other. It never once felt like these characters had a dialogue. And the sad thing is, they probably had more of a dialogue in this than they did, like, say, the original Civil War. Like, in the original Civil War, that was one of the big problems, is that these characters never actually sat down and talked to each other. I will hand Bendis this. I will give him this. There were plenty of moments in which he actually did have the characters sit down and talk, but the talking was horrible. Again, I've said this numerous times, Bendis would make a great editor, but he's gotten beyond the point in which I really trust him writing anything. Because if he was an editor, he would have come in here and gone, we need a scene where these characters talk about this. And I would have been like, yes, I agree with you. But the talking is like the second time that they talk and they get together, it's Tony laying out all the problems, laying out all the flaws with this that he has discovered, laying out all the reasons why this doesn't work, and then Carol is just like, nope, don't care. I don't care if it is flawed. We're still gonna do this. Like, okay. Well, that failed. That didn't work at all. So the build-up to this has not worked. The build-up has always just felt like them forcing these characters to fight. In fact, it didn't even really feel like there was any point in calling this Civil War II, because, yeah, we got that one fight scene in issue 5, which was kind of a weak fight scene. I mean, it was just a handful of panels of these characters throwing stuff at each other. Then we didn't see any resolution to any of these fights. Like, you would see someone throw an energy blast at someone, and maybe they get hit, but they would then be okay, and they'd be about to go at each other again, but then would cut to the next fight. So it was like, alright, this isn't an actual fight. I mean, it's the best of Marvel fights. You know, like if you put together a compilation and it's like, all right, we gotta take a really cool fight scene and whittle all that down into a couple of pages. That's what that was. So yeah, plus, as I said, we never really got feeling for anybody else in any of this aside from Tony and Carol. The only other person who we really got feeling for was Miles, and I hate saying this because I love Miles. Miles is an amazing character. Miles is not at the point yet where he needs to be the central focus of the event that will define the Marvel Universe. He's been a kid out there being Spider-Man for a couple months as far as Marvel, like the Marvel timeline goes. You can't then just immediately pick him up and go, bam, biggest star in the Marvel Universe, because it takes away from his own development as a character. I can't go back to reading the Miles comic now, and I was loving that comic, but I can't do it now because I can't look at that and go, yeah, I buy him just being a regular high school student. I buy him just, going to school and he's just trying to figure out life and his parents and how to be Spider-Man. He has already been promoted to the same level as... hold on a second. I'm choking on my own rage here. He has already now been promoted up to that point where he can't be the guy stopping just regular bank robberies. Because now he's at the central focus of a cosmic level event. And I know you're going to say, well, Peter was that too, right? Peter took decades to get to that point. And I gotta be honest with you, I had a problem with it when they started doing it then, but I was like, alright, well at least he's been around a while. He's in his 20s now. He's been doing this for like 5-10 years. Alright, I can buy him now going off to space with the Avengers and fighting Thanos. But even then, he was never the central focus of it. Okay, geez, I am getting so off on a tangent here. But as I was saying, when we got that big fight scene in issue 5, I never really felt anything for any of these characters because I didn't even know why they were on each side because none of them really voiced it. I had to then try and figure it out myself, why they would be on the side that they were on, and some of them there was no rationale for. I have pointed this out numerous times. Why the hell is Old Man Logan on the side of not changing the future when the entire premise of his series is I got brought back in time, I'm gonna change the future? It made no freaking sense at all. Why are the all-new X-Men on the side of changing the future? Their book was all about we can't let our horrible future come to pass. But then Kitty Pryde, the person who left the X-Men because they're like, no, I believe in them, I am going to help them change the future so they don't have to go back to the terrible future that they came from. Why is she then on the Guardian side? Why was she just like, well, my boyfriend's on this side, I guess I'll be on this side too. None of it made freaking sense. Okay, focus. Stick with this issue. So as I said, never really got a feeling for any of the other characters aside from Carol and Tony in this. But the conversations between Carol and Tony were just awful. It was Tony coming in here, giving out some facts about why this was wrong, and Carol just being, nope, we're saving lives, that's all that matters. And because of that, when we get this big knockdown, drag-out fight, Tony starts it. Tony should be the villain in this. He attacks first. He goes in when Carol was just coming in to talk about this, and he attacked first, so he should be the villain, but because Tony has been the one presenting facts about this the whole time, and Carol's just been, nope, not listening, I'm putting this lady in jail even though she didn't do anything wrong, and even though the readers at home know that Ulysses is seeing alternate realities, meaning the stuff that he's predicting might not actually happen, I'm still gonna put innocent people in jail because of it. I can't look at her as the hero in this situation. She's the villain. I'm on Tony's side going, yeah, okay, stop the bad lady from putting people in jail. And I know that Bendis wanted readers to look at this as Tony's just going too far. Tony is just hammering into Carol. Carol didn't want this, and that's why Carol is forced to fight back and ends up killing Tony. And you failed miserably at that. Because, yes, as I said, Tony should be the villain because he's attacking and he won't let up. But Carol never once just goes, hold on, Tony, just want to talk. And if she does this like for a quarter of a second before she just goes, all right, punching a hole through your stomach. Listen, you got Carol there. I hate saying it, but yeah, that's the time when she puts her hands up and goes, just hear her talk, just hear her talk. She starts fighting back just as hard as he does. And when it gets to that point, he's like, all right, well, if I look at what I've seen of these characters in the past couple issues, she's totally been in the wrong. She's the one putting innocent people in jail. Why am I rooting for her? So I never once got that feeling of, oh, Tony, he's out of control here. I just looked at it like, yeah, Tony's just being a dick, but Carol is still kind of the villain in all this. And she murdered him. This is not a, well, she had to keep fighting back. She's ripping his suit apart. His suit is failing. The power is dropping. And she still just blows him away there at the end. I'm sorry, there is no sympathy for Carol Danvers in this. None. And that is the biggest problem. And I have pointed this out several times. That was the problem with Tony in the first Civil War. In the first Civil War, you can look back at that and go, Tony's a straight up villain. Tony is doing some really evil stuff. However, when you stop and look at just his core argument has some merit. That's one of the reasons why the Civil War movie was so good. Because it took his core argument and went, let's have someone actually make an argument for this. Let's have somebody not do villainous stuff, but actually talk about why that argument is good. In this, Carol's doing straight up villainous stuff, but at the same time, we, the readers, know her argument is crap. So there is no reason for any of us to be on Carol's side here. We're just watching a hero who we have loved for years and who recently finally got her moment in the spotlight and finally built up a fan base and finally had people supporting her and finally was on the fast track to being one of the best heroes out there, now suddenly acting like a villain and murdering another hero. I know you might be saying, well, you certainly seem to be feeling an emotion now. You said you were feeling nothing while you're reading it. Yeah, I wasn't feeling anything while reading this because, dear God, Marvel, why in God's name did you release issues that spoiled the end of this months before this came out? I know this got delayed, and I know that, hey, as a company, you have to keep putting books out there. You can't let major delays stop your entire company, but it's not your entire company. It's maybe like 3-4 books out there. The 2 Iron Man books, those are the only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that spoiled it, but I'm sure there was a 3rd one out there. Ultimates, I think Ultimates spoiled it too. But yeah, just delay those for 2 months. Listen, I'm enjoying Infamous Iron Man. I know a ton of people out there are looking forward to the new Invincible Iron Man. The Ultimate series is great. Although I do need to bring up something in the Ultimate series in just a second. But those are all really good books that people are looking forward to. They can look forward to them 2 months down the road. Or, I'm sorry, as I said, the artist is amazing. This was great artwork. But if you know you have books coming out that are going to spoil what happens at the end of this months before it comes out, yeah, man, I'm sorry, you gotta get a different artist on there. I know it really sucks to say because this artist, it's not like he wasn't hitting the deadlines. He had a kid. That's definitely a very valid reason to not hit your deadline. I fully understand that. But at the same time, this is a business, man. You have to get a different artist to come in there. And they did. You can tell that when he looks into the future and he goes into the Old Man Logan future, that was Bendis kind of going, well, I can use this as an excuse to have a different artist do a couple of pages, then we can hit the deadlines. And the whole seeing the different alternate reality future things, in which you got different artists to come in there. Like I said, that was really cool, and I would gladly buy an art book with all that stuff in there. But again, you can kind of tell that was Bendis going, well, we really need to hit this deadline. But because of that, because I knew what was going to happen at the end of this issue, again, I was not reading this going, what's gonna happen? And I wasn't reading this going, oh man, please tell me you're not gonna do this. Instead, I was going, get to the end of it. Go on, yep. Okay, alright, yep. Well, now she's punching another hole through his stomach. Well, not gonna root for her any more now than I was before. Oh, now she's ripping his helmet off. Okay, Oh, she just flat out blew him away. Just flat out made him explode. Well, that's not the kind of thing a hero would do, which again, she's supposed to be a hero in all this. So even if they were writing her as somebody sitting there going, I don't want to fight, I don't want to fight, I don't want to fight, and eventually got to that point where she had no choice but to start fighting back, and Tony was just out of his mind and out of control, you're heroes. How many times do the villains just start fighting you nonstop? How many times do you murder them? I'm sorry, Spider-Man has had a pretty good long streak of villains just starting crap with him. Never once had to kill any of them. He's got a pretty good long streak going there. Captain Marvel, up until this point, had a pretty good long streak going too. Why is it that Tony, a guy she has worked with 4 years and been another hero 4 years, is the one who she's like, you know what, let me just lose all control and just blow this mother out of the air. But alright, all through this video series, I have mentioned several problems that I have with Bendis and with the way that he writes. And one of the biggest problems that I have is that this is a guy who does not give a crap about continuity. He does not care about what's going on in your book. I'm gonna write my book. I mentioned this right now with his current Jessica Jones book. His current Jessica Jones book is actually pretty darn good. I'm enjoying it. However, I love the Power Man and Iron Fist book that's out right now. His Jessica Jones book cannot exist in the same reality as the Power Man and Iron Fist book. They are so completely opposed to each other in what they are having happen to the same characters. That's like, so you just didn't even talk to David Walker. You didn't even talk to the guy who's writing Power Man and Iron Fist and go, so I'm gonna just completely ruin all the characters in your books and the relationships that you have going on. Is that cool? Is that fine? I'm just gonna be over in my office right now. You get back to me when you're ready with your answer. At the end of this book, he has Eternity pop up. Which, by the way, I just point this out. You guys were spoiling this book on Twitter to me. You were coming in and going, I can't believe that this happened at the end. And I looked at those and I went, nice try. Oh, I know what this is. This is you. This is a fake spoiler. That's what this is. You're just typing in the weirdest stuff that you can think of just to make me think it's going to happen. I ain't falling for that. That's too stupid. That wouldn't happen. Nope. Eternity did indeed pop up at the end of this and just go, hey, Ulysses, you've evolved to being one of us. Come and join us. And I will say this. I'm going to say this right now. I actually did say that probably the best solution of what to do with Ulysses is just have him turn into the new Watchman. Have him Watcher. Have him evolve into something beyond being human, because when it got to that point in which it became clear he's seen everything that's happening on Earth at once, and he's seen alternate realities, that was the two things that the Watcher did. And you could have him see all this and go, listen, me telling you guys what's happening, it's screwing everything up. And I'm taking in too much information, I can't even talk right now. I'm gonna go up to the moon, to the Watcher's old citadel up there. I'm just gonna chill in space and just observe everything that's happening in the universe forever. Don't bother me anymore. Maybe when you guys have some giant crossover event, I'll just pop up there in the background and just stare at it for a second. Because wasn't that cool when the Watcher did that? I always enjoy that when the Watcher did. Makes me kind of bummed that he's not around anymore. And I know that some people are going to say, well, at the end of Original Sin, Nick Fury became the new Watcher. Did he? He became a guy covered in chains, but they haven't really done anything with him. It wasn't until recently in Unworthy Thor that he finally popped up and said, oh yeah, I see everything. I'm watching everything. So I was like, alright, so I guess you're kind of like the Watcher now? But Nick Fury is old and grizzled, and he's kind of just like seeing the worst in everything. Ulysses is young and hopeful, and kind of always wanted to believe in the positive in people. At least I think so. We never actually talked about his character at all. That's just what I'm assuming they wanted us to feel. If you were going to turn anybody into the Watcher, and you have these two characters, I actually think it would be kind of cool if you have them be like two faces of the same coin. They're just both up there on the moon together, just constantly looking. Nick Fury seeing all the bad stuff, Ulysses seeing all the good stuff. So whenever you have some giant, massive crossover event, you see like both of them pop up in the background, just watching it all. Kind of like Cain and Abel from the old DC comics. I'm getting way off on a tangent here. But anyway, Eternity pops up. Says you have evolved into the next stage of something. So I just wanted to say that real quick, just so that I could kind of come in here and go, yeah, I'm not going to really wag my finger too hard at Bendis for having him evolve into something else when I had the exact same idea. However, my idea was for him to turn into something. Here he just turned into who knows what? He becomes a thing. What does that mean? Is he going to turn into something new? Who knows what's happening? So that was a big problem, that we didn't get really any kind of an explanation for that. But as I've said numerous times, one of Bendis' biggest problems is that he does not care about continuity. He does not care about what's happening in other people's books. Over in the Ultimates book, which, by the way, if you're writing a book about Carol Danvers and her team of the Ultimates, you'd think you might pick up the Ultimates comics and read it just to make sure this is cool. The big storyline that Al Ewing has been building towards this entire time, since issue 1 of that series, now leading into their second series, is that someone has put eternity in chains. Someone has imprisoned all the cosmos, and Al Ewing has done a great job building that up, slowly raising the mystery of it, getting this team ready to face it, having them learn about it over the course of several issues. He's done a wonderful job building up to that, and the idea of someone imprisoning all of reality is a great storyline. That is indeed something I want to see. Hey everybody, it's me, Eternity. I'm here at the end of this book and I'm doing just fine. No chains on me, everybody. I'm totally fine. Everything cool with you guys? Tip your waitress. Alright, this has been Eternity saying, not in chains. I have tried to read this and go, well, maybe all this happened right before the Ultimate series and the Ultimates was taking place a couple months in the future. No, Black Panther quit. And we saw that happen in the Ultimates book, and they had Civil War II crossover in there. So we know that's not happening. Maybe it's another Eternity, but then why would another Eternity come into our reality? Because in order to come into our reality, you would have to enter into the other Eternity. If you're going to enter into another Eternity, maybe he would free that Eternity from his chains. Maybe his jailer let him off on probation for the day. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Probation? Parole. I don't know. I'm confused right now. Oh my god. It's so frustrating that Bendis just completely came in and Al Ewing, a guy who has been trying to make sense of all the stuff that Bendis does. Like, remember when Bendis just broke all time at the end of Age of Ultron? And then he never mentioned that ever again? Ever, never, ever came up, ever? That seems like a big thing that should be brought up. Al Ewing's the guy who says, I'm going to remember this, I'm going to bring it up in a storyline, I'm going to try and explain it. Al Ewing is just trying so hard to make sense of what Bendis does, and he's trying to build up his own big storyline, and Bendis just came in and went, nope, we're going to go and do it my way. So all I can think of is that Al Ewing has to be sitting at his desk right now going, how in God's name do I explain this? How the hell do I explain that Eternity was just not in chains there at the end of all this? Who knows? God, I feel so bad for the guy. And again, I do not want to just keep beating up on Bendis, but for God's sakes, Marvel, I know he doesn't have an editor. You read this and you can tell the man does not have an editor. If he has an editor, it's somebody just sitting at a desk in like the closet and Bendis comes in and goes, this look good to you? Cool, that's what I thought. And then leaves and the guy's just there like, can I get a light bulb in here? It's so dark in this room, please. Or he's just asking for his red stapler back. And also the thing that gets me, the thing that drives me nuts about this is that when the book got delayed by 2 months, because like I said, the artist had a child, Bendis came out and said, it's actually a good thing that this happened because I thought of a way better ending and I'm going to go and rewrite this, add on an extra issue at the end. Trust me, the ending of this is going to be so much better. And his ending was a Deus Ex Machina. I'm not about to come in here and go like, oh, I could have written this better. I'm not about to come in here and go, oh, I'm a talented writer. Because I'm probably not, I probably suck. But the #1 rule of writing is Deus Ex Machinas don't work. They're bad writing. Deus Ex Machina is just having some thing come in and go, everything's resolved, is the worst way that you can write something. It's just lazy. So having Ulysses, the problem with what to do with Ulysses being just like, well, he's just going to go away. Now he's gone. Literally having a Deus Ex Machina this thing, a god coming down and going, yep, we're taking him away. You don't get to play with your toy anymore. That was just lazy, but also Carol just realizes that this is wrong because she sees that, oh, these are alternate futures. Okay. Which again, going back to Al Ewing, he had to come in here and find some kind of an explanation for why Carol just went nuts. And his explanation was that because time was broken, they had to travel to the edge of all reality. It was actually a really awesome storyline. Go and check that out in the Ultimates. They had to travel to the edge of all existence, where Galactus went, time is not broken. Time is fluid. here are all the ways that it changes in the past as time moves forward, and all the ways that can change in the future. And they saw all these weird alternate realities, and they had Carol then go, oh, well, in all these realities, everything's broken. I can now see all the ways that the future is damaged, all the ways that things could go wrong. So this guy tells me the future, great, I'm gonna listen to him. It was basically Al Ewing coming in here and going, it was kind of post-traumatic stress disorder from her seeing all of creation at once. It was kind of post-traumatic stress disorder from her seeing every bad possible future that could happen. So she was going to use this guy to try and prevent them from happening. So the solution is that she then sees all these bad futures again? Alright. I mean, I guess that she then realized that he was unstable and he wasn't giving her exact futures, but Tony already told her this. And she already said, I don't care. So why does she care now? Again, it really was just, we need something to stop this. So they just came in here and showed that. Alright, maybe, I'm trying to make sense of this, so maybe it was a deal where when she realized that he was now seeing alternate realities by seeing the alternate realities for herself, she was able to understand it. Like maybe just Tony telling her wasn't enough, she had to actually see it, and that's what really got the point across. I'm trying, man, I'm trying so hard to make sense of this. But alright, let's talk about the end of this. First off, I said when I was talking about Infamous Iron Man that it kind of spoiled what happens to Tony Stark, and numerous other books have spoiled it. But I also said there's like a 5% chance that he's still alive and in a coma. He's still alive and in a coma, which I don't know how I feel about that. First off, I will say this. They said that the reason why he survived is because Tony's been doing experiments to himself. I know that some people are like, oh, well, Bendis just pulled that out of nowhere. No, that actually was something that they brought up in the Matt Fraction Invincible Iron Man series, which is actually a great Iron Man series. So I gotta give Bendis credit on that one. He at least paid attention to that. He actually brought that back, and no other writer really has brought that back, so okay, kudos to you, Bendis. You brought something back and had it actually play out. That's the kind of stuff we like. So yay. But I don't really know how I feel about Iron Man still being alive, because if he's still alive, and let's be honest, we know he's gonna come back to life. He's not just being left in a coma to just slowly die one night in his sleep. No, he's going to come back to life one day. It just kind of makes me look at this whole event and go, oh, so the only point of all this was to make Jen into an angry Hulk and to have us get a different Iron Man for, I don't know, a year before the old Iron Man comes back, because let's be honest, that's how quickly Marvel likes to move with these events. Yeah, man, that is not worth any of this. That was not worth... Oh, and the Guardians are now trapped on Earth. I'm sure they won't return to space in time for their next movie. Yeah, this had no consequences at all. The biggest consequence we got out of all this is that Bruce Banner is now dead. But Bruce Banner was retired. So he wasn't going to be the Hulk again anyways. And you killed him in one of the worst ways. You killed him in an insulting way. So I don't even feel good about his story coming to an end. And then we know Iron Man's coming back, so his story didn't come to an end. But at the same time, if this was Iron Man's last story, I would have been pissed too. Because his last big hurrah is him kind of losing his marbles and going all out against Carol Danvers, and Carol Danvers is the one that murders him. That's his final story? So I would have been ticked if you killed him too, so I gotta be honest with you. The end of this issue is a big... I don't even know. I don't even know anymore how I'm supposed to feel about this. It was just a lose-lose situation. But the other thing that happens at the end is because Carol saw these alternate realities all at once, she's kind of doubting what she did. But then Beast comes in here and says, listen, deep down in his heart, he trusted you. He trusted that you would use this ability correctly. But he had fears about what would come after you. Who would use it after you? Could we trust them? Would they use it for wrong? And we really get the sense that that's the argument that Carol finally bought. And all I could think was, A, we as the readers don't trust her because a couple issues ago we saw her put an innocent person in jail and she lost her mind. She was there going, I don't care. I know that you did it because this random dude just told me that you did, so I'm gonna make sure that we get all facts. And we know, the readers all know, she just put an innocent person in jail. It's even been confirmed in the Captain America book. Bendis has even confirmed it in his Jessica Jones series that's come out after all this. We know, as the readers, she did not use this correctly. And now you're coming in here going, Tony knew you'd use it correctly. No, he didn't. No, he didn't at all. But also, if the argument that, but who comes after you, is the one that Tony knew this whole time, is the argument that him and Beast knew was the correct argument this whole time, and it's the argument that got Carol to realize the errors of her ways, why did you never tell Carol this? Why? I feel like Charlie in It's Always Sunny. Carol! Carol! I have always said that my biggest problem from these heroes fighting each other events is that the heroes never talk. They never get a moment to sit down and actually discuss why they're doing what they're doing and the arguments that they had against it. And in this, we had 2 times when that happened, and yet they were saying the wrong things? This is like some weird monkey's paw wish where I finally got these characters to do what I wanted them to do and it was still completely screwed up. The only thing that I really enjoyed about this was at the end of the issue in which it shows what all the other heroes are doing because, listen, I know that's just Marvel turning to you and going, and check out all these books spinning out of Civil War II. Go and buy them right now at your local comic store. I get that. I know that's what they're doing. But I actually did think it was like, you know what, Bendis did a decent job of explaining why these characters are where they are right now and why they're doing what they're doing as a result of all this. I thought that actually worked kind of well, aside from the one panel where it shows Captain America staring at the Avengers symbol and she tried to make it imply like, yeah, now he's really full of doubt. And I was like, no, he's a Nazi now. Have you not been reading the Captain America book? That was another thing that I found weird, is that at no point, even though Captain America plays a large role in all of this, at no point did it ever come up that we have a guy who can read the future and Captain America is a secret agent of Hydra right now. I felt like that probably should have come up at some point. I mean, they did have that one vision in the future where Miles was killing Captain America and you see like the evil Captain America staring over him. So like, okay, that's something. That's something, I guess. Huh, okay. But I also really did enjoy Clint Barton kind of coming in there and kind of, for a brief moment, explaining things from his point of view and saying what he's going to go off and do. Because out of all this, it was really the only moment where we got to hear from Clint Barton, who did a huge, horrible thing in this book. And I feel like, yeah, if there's anybody I should hear at least something from, it's probably Clint. Also, it was Marvel turning to the readers and going, make sure to check out Occupy Avengers right now. And Occupy Avengers is actually a pretty darn good book, and it does need more readers, so I'm cool with that. And then, of course, at the end of all this, the president tells Carol, I'm going to write you a blank check, use it for whatever you want. And she's basically like, I have some ideas for the future. And I was like, what? Do you mean to tell me Bendis is going to come back and continue this story? Because I know he's not. I've read a Bendis crossover event. He never brings up anything. As I mentioned earlier in this same video, broken time, all of time being broken. Yeah, that never came back again, ever. Bendis just kind of writes stuff and then hopes that other people come in here and pick up the ball and run with it. So maybe in the current Captain Marvel series we're going to see what she plans on doing? But I don't know. I honestly don't think that anything that happened in those last couple panels are ever going to be referenced ever again. Okay. So at the end of all this, Jesus. At the end of all this, I felt nothing during this fight. I didn't feel anything for Iron Man, and I especially didn't feel anything when it was revealed that he was still alive, because I was like, oh, so there really is no point at all to any of this event. It really felt like you just came in here, created a lot of strife in a bunch of books that did not need it. You basically shoved crossover events into so many titles that were doing just fine and did not need to stop to tell your crossover event book. Turned a lot of readers off to them because, let's be honest, I know that Marvel goes, well, the crossover events are good for these books. They're good for those people who just want to read crossover events. I can tell you this as someone who works in a comic book store. The people who pick up the crossover event issues of books are not coming back as soon as the crossover event ends. They pick up a few issues just to see how it ties in, and they never return to those books. Ever. But you know what does happen? The people who are just enjoying that series and want to see how it progresses, a lot of them end up getting turned off by the crossover events, because you're basically coming in and going, I'm sorry, did you have a story to tell? Stop that story right now. We're going to now tell this story. And I constantly see people drop off these books. Heck, I know I dropped off of a ton of books that I was loving at Marvel. Like I said, I absolutely loved the Ultimate series. I could not read those crossovers. I couldn't. Totally Awesome Hulk, that was a book that I was having a blast reading. Could not read the crossover events. Power Man Iron Fist, one of the best books you're putting out there. I still read the crossover issues, but man, did you not need those crossover issues. Those crossover issues did not convince new readers to stick on that book. This plan of yours does not work. This plan of yours only gets temporary readers in. It does not establish a base. It's not doing what Rebirth did, in which it came in and went, here's the characters, here's who they are, here's the story that we're going to be telling with them. That story is going to progress. And people came in there, checked out the books, and went, you know what? I like this character, I like this story, I like where it's going, I'm going to continue reading this. But you have now created a culture in which your books constantly have to just stop to go into a crossover event, and after the crossover event, everything's going to be changed. So there's such a feeling of instability in your books. I don't even know if that's the correct word for it, but I'm too upset to actually say correct words. You created such a feeling of shakiness. You haven't created anything solid. So even when people pick up your book and go, I am loving this series, they always have it in the back of their minds, but I am willing to drop this the moment it crosses over into something. That's why when you look at the sales of Marvel and DC books, yeah, they drop. All books drop. That's just the natural progression of books. They will start high, then slowly get lower and lower and lower. But that's what DC books do. Marvel books start off high and then just roller coaster down. That's why they cancel so many of their books way earlier than DC cancels their books, because A, they're not willing to let their books drop quite as far as DC is, I'll admit that, but also because they look at it and go, wow, that's dropping fast, better cancel it before it gets too low. This whole idea of yours that people want crossover events because they buy the issues doesn't work. It's just temporary readers coming in here, and you're offending the people who have been enjoying the series before, and you're getting them to stop reading the books. But honestly, I'm getting off topic at the moment, and that is actually a video I've been wanting to make for a long time about why these crossover events don't work and why people are fed up with them. So I am going to have that coming up, who knows when, because this kind of wore me out. But yeah, this whole event was just a mistake. It was a cash grab, and I'm sure it worked for a while, but it doesn't make more people want to read Marvel Comics. It makes them want to read DC. And honestly, I kind of want to go and read some Green Arrow right now, because at least that book is stable. I want to read the current Tom King Batman right now, because oh my gosh, is that still good. Detective Comics is great. Superman, dear God, is that book amazing. And you know what? It's probably going to be amazing in another couple issues as well. It's probably not going to then just stop to go into a massive crossover issue in which these characters change forever. So, Marvel, just stop. Just freaking stop already. We made it through this one. You've got another big crossover event coming up in which the Inhumans are fighting the X-Men, but at least that one you build up to, so I'll give you that. And then you have another big crossover event happening at the same time in which they're fighting giant monsters, which, hey man, that's fine. You want to have heroes just fight monsters? Cool, because I doubt you're going to change the entire face of the Marvel Universe just so that Rocket Raccoon can punch up Cruel the monster that walks like a man, or whatever it is he's going to face. But okay, that's it for me, everyone. I have nothing else to say about this. I am drained. But let me know in the comments down below how you felt about this whole event, if you were unlucky enough to read it. By the way, I should point this out. Because I just got back from vacation, I have not yet gone back to work at my comic book store, but I knew I needed to read this. So I actually just bought it on Comixology, and when I clicked the buy now button, it actually said to me, we cannot let you buy this right now because of technical difficulties. I'm like, wow, even Comixology is telling me, nah man, you don't want no part in this. So, alright. As I said, just let me know in the comments down below what you felt about this. We'll be back in the new year with much more chipper videos. Although I will say I'm not done talking about Civil War II. I have 2 other videos planned talking about this. 2 editorials coming up. So make sure that you come back for that. This is Aaron, Professor Thorgy saying, I am emotionally drained right now. Bye.